And a very good evening to you, and welcome to Politics 101 on Tuesday evening. Welcome everyone down. Trust you had a beautiful, restful, productive, for some of us, a political weekend. We are expecting tonight to continue our discussion. I'm expecting Lincoln Lewis and Mark Benchop to join me later on. Tonight we are going to continue that discussion about what development, what development, what development are we talking about in Guyana? If you're doing development and your people are not developed, then you're in bad shape. That World Bank update in which given Guyana's wealth, income that has been coming in the last couple of years, the poverty threshold has been increased. And so the poverty line is now 5.5 US dollars or 1,100 US dollars, 1,100 Guyana dollars, and less. If you earn 1,100 Guyana dollar and less, it means that you are living below the poverty line. And the World Bank estimates that 48% of Guyanese are living on less than 1,100 Guyanese dollars, 48%. So here we have all this development that the government is talking about, but more than that, we have all the income. We have increased in growth. Last year alone, we had at 19.9% GDP. So all the numbers are saying that we are having increased income, increased wealth in the country. Yet, people are earning less than $1,100, living below the poverty line. Half the population, according to the World Bank. Something is wrong. Where is all the money going? Where is all the money going? Those numbers ask some serious questions. Lincoln is going to talk to us about labor, give us a rundown on a report on what's happening on the labor front. And then we'll talk about those figures. The Commission of Inquiry, so-called, into the 2020 election have begun. And one dare say that we have seen some of the usual suspects, those who we expect will be coerced to go there and to give evidence. We see some of that. And then Mark Benchop has released some tapes, WhatsApp messages between himself and the chairman of the Guyana Elections Commission. And he's saying that he has some recording of conversations between the two of them that may put the chairman in not so good light. I don't know, I have not heard these tapes. Benchop says he has the tapes. We're going to talk to Benchop later about those tapes. So please share the link. And welcome down to Politics 101, whether you're joining us from Guyana or you're joining us from the wider Caribbean, you're joining us from the United States of America, from Canada, from Europe. Welcome down to Politics 101. I know we're not accustomed to a Monday night show, but this week I have some juggling to do with some other commitments. So we are doing a Monday night show this week Don't know whether we'll continue, but welcome to Politics 101. Tomorrow night we are going to be on. We're going to have young Elson Lowe, the economist, coming here to give us an update on the economy, where things are from the economist standpoint. That's tomorrow night. But tonight, it's Mark Benchop and Lincoln Lewis who are going to join us. Welcome to some new viewers. Welcome to Politics 101. Those of you who are joining us for the first time, those of you who are regular viewers, welcome to Politics 101. I want to thank those of you who have contributed to the program. You know who you are. You didn't give me any permission to call your names, so I wouldn't call your names, but those of you who've contributed, thank you very much for keeping the program going. We are streaming tonight from the Sherrod Duncan platform, so we are expecting some new viewers to join us. Thank you, Sherrod, for opening up your platform to Politics 101. For those of you who are joining us from Sherrod platform, welcome to Politics 101. And those of you who are joining us from my own Facebook page. I have not streamed from my Facebook page before, but I'm doing so tonight. Those of you who are joining us from those platforms, welcome to Politics 101. Of course, most of the time we tend to forget those who join us from YouTube, quite a following on YouTube, and we sometimes forget to acknowledge those of you from YouTube. So, welcome to our new viewers, welcome to our YouTube viewers, welcome to our viewers from the Sherrod Duncan platform, and those of you who are joining from my own Facebook page, welcome to Politics 101. So here we are on Tuesday night, engaging our politics. You know, after that meeting, that town hall meeting last week, that Mr. Rickford Burke and his organization organized, we have seen some very strange, hypocritical responses from the government, from the PPP, and their supporters. They have decided to go to town on Sister Letitia James, the Attorney General of New York, all because she gave some solidarity to Rickford Burke and to the Guyanese struggle against injustice. We hear now that foreigners are meddling in Guyana's business. Huh? The PPP is saying foreigners are meddling in Guyana's business. Now, during the 5 months impasse, when we had foreigners from CARICOM, Bruce Golding, Owen Arthur, Mia Motley, Ralph Gonzalez, when they were pronouncing on Guyana's election, were they meddling? When we had a congressman, I think it's Congressman Meeks, from the United States, pronouncing, when we had the Secretary of State of the United States, were they meddling? When we had the Commonwealth and the Carter Center, and all of them pronouncing on an election that was disputed, all of them taking one side over another, were they meddling? Were they meddling? So now we have so-called foreigners showing solidarity with the other side, they're meddling. Now, I've been around politics long. I don't know politics and hypocrisy go hand in hand. I've been around politics long, and I know that politics and double standards go hand in hand. I know that. But how low can these people go? How low can these people go? These foreigners were good. They were protecting human rights. They were protecting democracy. When they became overly entangled in our elections, overly entangled in our elections. Now we have Brother Hakeem Jeffries, Sister Letitia James. We had the Vice President of the United States. We had the Secretary of State of the United States warning against the developing authoritarianism, the developing unfair distribution of wealth. Now they are called foreigners meddling in our affairs. They're no meddlers. Brothers and sisters, this is beyond the pale. We are dealing with people who have no respect for the intelligence of their countrymen and women. Letitia James and Hakeem Jeffries didn't come here and were physically and otherwise involved in our election. They weren't there to pronounce on a disputed election. They're looking at what's going on in Guyana. They're hearing the cries of Guyanese. And they are responding. And now they are called meddlers. Well, we have to decide what we want. We either don't want the international community to be part of what's happening in Guyana, to comment on what's happening in Guyana, or we want them. The PPP constantly says that we know, we the PPP, we know that we won the election. We know that there was an attempt to rig the election because every single external group said so. So you're prepared to win an election with the interference of external group, according to you, meddling, but you're not prepared for that same national community to comment or to give solidarity to those who are fearing and experiencing the wrath of your government. Eric Soon in his column today said that Letitia James will lose the election tomorrow, cheering on our Indian Guyanese brothers and sisters in New York, who in response to Letitia James's solidarity with the opposition have decided apparently to rally around a Republican opponent. Listen me out again. It appears as though some of our Indo-Guyanese brothers and sisters, supporters of the PPP in New York, have decided that they will rally around and give their vote to the Republican candidate. against the African American Democratic candidate, because that candidate has given solidarity to the opposition. Y'all see what's happening here? Where is the principle? Where is the principle? Where is the principle? If you believe that the Democratic Party better serve the interests of minorities, better serve the interests of poor people, why are you jumping to the Republicans because a Democratic candidate says something about Guyana that you don't like? Gregory Meeks is an African American. Gregory Meeks is a Democrat. I did not hear opposition supporters in New York say that Gregory Meeks sided with the PPP. Gregory Meeks' position coincided with the PPP. And so, therefore, we are not going to vote Democrats. Let me be blunt and frank. I'm not playing games here. It seems as though our PPP supporters, our brothers and sisters, PPP supporters, are breaking ranks with principle. The African Guyanese opposition supporters in New York, did not go to the Republicans and give their votes to the Republicans because an African American Democratic candidate, congressman, took the side of their political opponents in Guyana. And it seems as though the PPP, at least their supporters in New York, are urging Indo-Guyanese voters not to vote for the Democrats, not to vote for Letitia James, not to vote for an African American sister, because she took a stand on Guyana against their government. Double standards, hypocrisy. And we have to call it for what it is. We can't play around with these things. We have to be blunt. And that, for me, is a low blow. You see, these people believe they can manipulate Black people. You know, during the 5 months when Freddie Kissoon and I were talking and he was telling me about democracy, I said, Freddie Kissoon, I don't think that the Black caucus and Black elected leaders in America are going to buy this story of democracy. Then what is at stake, among other things, is the security of African Guyanese. He laughed at me. He wrote a column. Do you believe that those people are stupid? They are going to choose their brothers and sisters in Guyana over democracy? Know that the plight of African Guyanese are better understood by African American leaders. Freddie Kissoon is calling for Letitia James to be defeated tomorrow. In fact, his column today says she will be defeated tomorrow. So these people who only like Black people, who side with them. And once you don't side with them, you're a goner. The question, do they really politically like black people? Do they really like black people politically? If you do, you have to like us in season and out of season. If you are prepared to tell your people to elect the Republican because the Democrat spoke out against you, can you imagine David Hines or Mark Bishop or Duncan or Burke telling African Guyanese in New York, vote for Republicans because the Democratic congressman came down on the side of the PPP. Can you imagine us doing that? No, we have more principle than that. I disagree vehemently with Sister Mia. I disagree vehemently with Brother Ralph, who I admire tremendously. I disagree with Bruce Golding. I disagree with Owen Arthur. I admire Owen Arthur for what he did for Barbados and Caribbean integration. Disagree with him. But I would never come on this program and tell Guyanese in Barbados or Guyanese in Jamaica, vote against Mia Mottley because of what she did. I would never do that. If people want to do that, they can do that. I would never do that. I don't think any of our brothers and sisters on this platform would do that. But that's the hypocrisy, the lack of principle that we are dealing with on the other side. And these people want to lead us. Please share the link. Brothers, brother Lincoln is here with us. And I notice Brother Mark is here with us. So let me bring them on. Good evening, Brother Mark.
Hi, good evening, Dr. David Hines. Good evening to your listeners. Where do you want us to start right off the bat? Because my blood is boiling and I just need to get right off. I
need to get your take on that hypocrisy that I was talking about there just now. In New York, you're there, elections are tomorrow, a lot is riding on those elections, and we have Guyanese people who are advising people to vote for Republicans because Letitia James has taken a stand on Guyana.
Well, I've noticed a couple of people, they're not the majority. People don't listen to these individuals. And like, for example, one guy who stood there and attempted to insult Letitia James, an attorney, a professional woman, a woman who has reached, who could possibly have been the governor right now if she was running, to listen to one, I think one of the guys' name is not the guy who was on Leopards Boulevard, who was being paid a bag of pulori and couple fudge to make that announcement. He wasn't even sure about where the meeting was going to be. He wasn't even sure about what the meeting was about. So I'm not too bothered about those individuals. For example, Vishnu Mahadir, one of the guys who spoke in front of Sybil's restaurant, actually, he wasn't too sure because he said that Letitia James was stabilizing the government of Guyana. All these manner of things he said. And I saw the Republican candidates looking at him and was like, wow. And so the point I'm making, he is giving the Attorney General of New York an ultimatum to say, well, look, to say, well, look, hear what? You have until Tuesday to apologize to the people of Guyana. I mean, what ludicrous. Who is he? Who is Vishnu Mahadir? Other than the fact then that he got a restraining order, he assaulted a woman, he is alleged to have been involved in pension fraud, and all these manner of things. But you have the Attorney General, the candidate for Attorney General in New York City, Michael Henry, is saying, all because of a wanted bulletin for Rickford Work, is saying that Rickford is a criminal. This is a lawyer who is saying that. So the bunch of hypocrisy and ridiculous, wild individuals that we're seeing here now, desperate individuals. And I'm just saying this to say that the few people who are saying that Letitia James should not be meddling and Letitia James this and that, they're insignificant. They are of no value, none whatsoever. And that is my position. And for Freddie Kissoon to boldly say that tomorrow Letitia James will lose the elections, it shows the vindictiveness. It shows that he is bitter. It shows that what is we're harboring inside of him. We basically display love and appreciation for everyone, whether we disagree with them or not. But these guys have taken their disagreement to, who's that, Freddie, trying to get on to you? These guys have taken their disagreement to a different level, the lowest level, way beneath a gutter level, Dr. David Hines. Why? What reasoning behind the fact that he could say Letitia James is going to lose tomorrow? Here what? Letitia James will win tomorrow, and he's going to find another article to twist things around. He's a twister. Freddie loves to turn around. I mean, he loves to turn things around. You know what I mean? So why should we be bothered about these guys, Dr. D?
And Mark, this is a man who says to people, you have to live in Guyana to comment on Guyanese politics. Is he living in New York? Is he living in the United States?
No. He's the only one to do everything. Yes. Every and anything he can do. He has the right, the transcripts, every single thing to do. The transport of Guyana to do any and everything that he wants to do. And when he says something, oh my gosh, Freddie just said it. It must be true, right? Look, he doesn't even understand the politics in the United States of America. I don't know who writes his article or who reads for it. I don't know. But for him to say that Michael Henry, an unknown. This is not to say in politics that unknown people don't win elections. We have seen it with some of the top brass here in New York City and other places. They have lost. But according to the polls, Letitia James is ahead by almost 13 or 14 points. It will take a miracle, even if Freddie Kissoon goes down on his knees. And I really do mean that. Go down on his knees, right? Michael Henry is not going to win tomorrow's Attorney General's elections. Letitia James has done so much. But because of Freddie Kissoon's bitterness and his hatred towards the opposition, and maybe by extension, his hatred towards persons of African descent, that we are now seeing these things. This is the same Freddie Kissoon who embraced then Ambassador Brent Hart and opposed. He opposed Priya Manikchand when Priya Manikchand cussed out the ambassador and says, stop meddling with our affairs in Guyana, right? But he shut up when Mike Pompeo meddled in our affairs. He shut up when it is alleged that the U.S. ambassador has meddled in our elections. He is quiet when the Canadian High Commissioner, Chandra Dutt or Trinidad or whatever her name is, meddle in the affairs of our politics because it suits their agenda. This is a guy who wants to basically ridicule Letitia James, Attorney General Letitia James, because she's a black woman. And on the other side, this is the same Freddie Kissoon who wants the Guyanese people to build a statue of Sarah Ann Lynch. Come on, Dr. Hines, can I take a sip of my Red Bull?
Oh, yes, take a sip of the Red Bull while I bring Lincoln in. Brother Lincoln, good evening. You seem to be getting some bad feedback from you there, brother.
Good evening, David.
Brother Lincoln, are you hearing us? Brother Lincoln?
I am.
There seem to be some issues there, Brother Lincoln.
And he came. Now look, one of your guys, Jamal Sheikh, is saying all of a sudden Freddie hates black people. What I'm saying, Jamal, is Freddie's actions. We're talking about his actions. Obviously, he seems very bitter against the coalition, very bitter against African leaders and African individuals. Everyone he's condemning, everyone he's pulling down. And based on that, Mr. Jamal Sheikh, Based on that, we're saying, what is it? Is it a hatred towards black people? And he only wants to like some who agrees with him?
Yes.
And once you agree with him, you're a good one. Once you disagree with him, you're bad. You're no good. I'm sure that if Letitia James was praising the regime of Guyana, the installed regime, guess what? She would have been in Freddie's good books. Just like Meeks is in Freddie's good books. Just like the Republican candidate for senator who's running up against Chuck Schumer. And by the way, Chuck Schumer is going to beat him. Mind you, I think Chuck Schumer has served a long time. People always want fresh blood. But this is not the fresh blood that is going to replace Chuck Schumer. Maybe next time around somebody would run and probably beat him, but not this time around. It's not going to happen. Freddie Kissoon got to pull back and allow some sort of calmness to prevail and stop approaching things from a vindictive, from a bitter standpoint. Bitter for God in heaven knows what and why. Letitia James will win that elections tomorrow. Folks, if you're in New York City, if you in New York, go out and vote for Letitia James.
And I want to echo that sentiment. I have had my problems with the Democratic Party within the context of American politics, but I think the interests of Caribbean people, because when you are a Caribbean person in the United States of America, you become Black. And insofar as the interests of Black people are concerned, it is better served by the Democratic Party.
But hear what, Dr. Hank.
Yes, tell me.
After this elections, things going to be different, I think. The Democrats got to wake up. They also got to stop taking their voters for granted. Otherwise, others going to step in and can't going to eat their dinner. They need to do more. For example, the Dreamers Act and all the Dream Act and all these different things. They need to act more, immigration reform, and lots of other things. And so while we may give them a pass this time around, we will have that big whip out on them and to ensure that they do more and to stop take us for granted. Caribbean nationals also, they need to stop taking us for granted and they got to do more. Otherwise, elections coming around, presidential elections coming around, it's going to be tough. And they got to stop also taking us too much for granted.
Thank you very much. I share those sentiments. Please welcome to Politics 101. I know some of you are joining us from a couple of new platforms tonight. I want to welcome you. I want to thank Shara Duncan for opening up this platform to the program. And so those of you who are joining us from Shara Duncan's platform, welcome if you're joining us for the first time. All you people on YouTube, welcome to Politics 101. We have Mark Bishop here tonight. We are trying to get Lincoln Lewis, but we are getting some real bad feedback there from him. Mark, I know lots of people are waiting to hear about these tapes that you have on Guyanese politics. I called you today because, as you told me, the part of America that I work is behind God back. And so I am always the last person to hear things. And I said, well, okay, for my people here, behind God back, I'm going to bring you on tonight. What's this? These tips that you have?
Well, and we gotta stop being careful because as I noticed Freddie Baku is on, and whenever Freddie Baku is on, they screenshot and send stuff to Freddie. So Freddie Baku is on. Good night to Freddie Baku. Right? Look, Claudette Singh knows exactly what she has done. Claudette Singh knows that she sits there and she's being a hypocrite. She knows that the PPP was actually installed into office. She knows that. And she knows that I know because we have had lots and lots of conversations about the issue. And so I'm giving her that opportunity instead of running and ducking, and pretending as though it's not her voice, because she knows what is going to come out. She knows that. So her defense right away, her 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 defense right away is basically putting her hands up and pulling a shaggy on us and say it wasn't me. The voice is not mine. She hasn't even heard the voices yet, other than just maybe one. But yet she's jumping on a mountaintop to say the voice is not mine. The voice is not mine. Benchot is lying. So if she thinks that I'm lying, then why all of these tapes, somebody's going to sit down and make these tapes and pretend to be Claudette Singh, when everyone who has heard the tapes know that it is Claudette's voice, including her friend. Everyone. I haven't come across not a single person who has said, oh no, that is not Claudette's voice. Right away, they're able to say, that is Claudette. That is Claudette's voice, or those are the same sort of things that Claudette discussed with me, with them as well. So there's no way out for her in this. I'm giving her the opportunity to come out and say, yes, there were discussions about X, Y, and Z, and that at some point in time, she flip-flopped on the elections. And she basically made the final decision under duress. I know when she made that final decision. I know that it was under duress because she discussed those things with me. There's no need for me to lie.
Mark Bishop, are you prepared to go before the so-called Commission of Inquiry and give some evidence on these matters?
It's like you walk into a kitchen and you know there's a sour pot of soup or cook-up, and you're telling me I could still go and dish out a plate and eat it and sit down. And no, the Commission of Inquiry into the 2020 elections is a farce. That is what it is. It is a farce. And why be part of something that is as set up for propaganda purpose so that it could suit the PPP's agenda? Look at who are the set of people they already have testifying. First, it was the chief elections officer who said that, what did he say? He said that they can't find the tapes. Obviously, they can't find the tapes. We know why they can't find the tapes. We know why the tapes are missing. And the tapes, the videotapes of events that happened on elections day has more to do with what the PPP did and the conduct of the PPP and some armed men who were part and parcel of Phantom Squad and death squads and drug lords. They were the ones who were part of the invasion of the GCOM's office. So it is in the interest of the PPP to destroy the video evidence. So when they come at the Commission of Inquiry to say they have no evidence, they don't have the tape missing, they're trying to give the impression that it is the coalition people who destroyed the tape. And they're trying to point that the figure at maybe Roxanne Myers, the deputy chief elections officer, or Mr. Keith Lowenfield. They are attempting to make those two individuals the boogeyman. This time, it is they are the ones, sorry, who have destroyed the evidence, and so they approach the commission. The other thing is, I noticed there's a trench crapo, and these people don't learn. I don't know why you're saying, or brothers and others, these people don't learn. There's a Len Prasad who is saying SOPs. How many times did we break this down for these trench crappos? That the coalition have two elections petitions. Two elections, and I hope they can come. Two elections petitions. It is not the coalition that is stopping and blocking those elections petitions from being heard, you know. It is the PPP. Every time those elections petitions are about to be heard, Anil Nandalal or one of the PPP guys jump in and say, stop it. We don't want it to be heard. You know why they don't want it to be heard? because of the very thing that one of those guys asking, but coalition show the SOPs. All of the SOPs will be opened once the elections petitions are heard. But the PPP doesn't want the elections petitions to be heard. The PPP doesn't want the SOPs to be opened up and for the world to see who really rigged the elections. I want to see that too. I want to see whether it's the APNU that did something wrong. I want to see if I'm correct that the PPP is actually the rigger. But you know what? The PPP doesn't want the elections petitions. And it leads me now to conclude that the PPP has something to hide, that there's a possibility that the PPP is actually the real rigger of the 2020 elections. Because then what? And 1 second, Dr. Hines. So one and two of them trench crap who can understand what we say. If the PPP want to see the coalition people SOPs, well, I call Anil Nandalal and I say, oh, why? Oh, better. I not hide the elections petition. I not stop an election petition. Let me see who rig a election now. Let me see who rig a election now. And you know what? You guys are going to see who really rigged the elections. And it's not the coalition. Figure it out.
You're a real current team man.
Thank you.
And there are two things there, Mark. Alexander was on here last Thursday, and he said a couple of things. He said the PNC/coalition SOPs is their personal business. The official SOPs, as GCOM SOPs, are in the hands of the court.
Well, that's my point.
So if you all let the petition go through, the court got the SOPs, the official SOPs. So that point about the SOPs, have their supporters chanting SOPs, SOPs, and they're not explaining things to them. The other thing is that the elections were not decided by SOPs. The elections were decided by the recount.
But they're not concerned about that, Dr. Hines. They're just not. And that was planted in their heads. But SOPs and SOPs and SOPs. And they're not stopping with this nonsense about SOPs because they don't know better. And you rightly said that the SOPs are in the hands of the court. Let the court deal with that. What more can they do? The elections petition. Lincoln and his haircut.
I think Lincoln is here. We're getting some clean. Brother Lincoln, good evening.
Hi, my brother. Good evening. Good evening, Mark. Good evening, viewers.
Technical problems. You have to get your trade unionists, technicians to get things right. But anyhow, you've been following us. What's your take on your friend
At one time, I believe the program is your Mark on. Like, are you going to bring me on?
You know, I will never let the quarantine man bully me over the West Coast, but both of y'all are Bobishans. And I
originally a Linden man. Don't forget. Originally,
I will never take side in between two Bobishans. I know better than that, right? So, what you make of your friend Freddie and other PPP people calling the African American Attorney General Letitia James of New York, Hakeem Jeffries, and others meddlers in Guyana's affairs?
Let me tell you first of all that I don't shoot down, you know, I just shoot up or shoot across. And as far as I'm concerned, Freddie's not in my league at this juncture.
So to speak.
He tried when he befriended us. He tried. What he tried for was not really to advance our cause, but he felt that he would have had an opportunity to continue to speak on behalf of the African community. And the moment that he has been denied that opportunity, he went where he feels comfortable to now demonize Africans in Guyana and across the United States and wherever in the world. every African man or woman is a no good or a non-entity for him. The only ones that he will compliment, even when they do nonsense, are those who we determine in Guyana as our slaves. You know, that's the thing that gets them annoyed when we said they are our slaves. Yes, they are our slaves because they behave in a certain way, a way that they stand with the oppressors, not only to oppress um, the African community, but also to deny the African community what is just and right for them. He deny even your constitutional right just for a mess of pottage. These are slaves. These Letitia James and Hakeem, they are not of that ilk. So he will seek to demonize them. You don't have to bring evidence. He will write something that is shallow, 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 um, attempting to 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 besmirch the character. That's what the type of man he is. Leave him, man. Let me don't discuss this guy. This guy is no longer. He's no longer
I
relevant.
agree with Lincoln. He came in at a time when he was being attacked by the PPP, and so he saw us as his protector, and so he felt that if he joined side with us, then he will able to be protected, and he was protected because there are a lot of times we had to ensure that we drove him home. I had to ensure then that he was protected in breakdown lockups, and we were basically his protector, and that's how he saw us. He thought then that he was, he's the only guy who went to top university, and he's the only guy that did this. He's the only guy that lectured for 40 something years. He's the only anything. Nobody else has that sort of qualifications than Freddie Kissoon or experience. He's the only one that has been an activist for 40 plus years. No one else has. He's the only one that believes then that there's a transporting Guyana for him. But anyways, we have far better things to talk about. The elections here in the U.S. tomorrow, and then we also have local government elections in Guyana. Then we have Claudette, who should certainly, I'm not sure if she's going to testify
Mark,
at the commission.
Mark,
We have other
Mark,
things to
just hold on. Mark, hold on. You're not the moderator.
Oh, shucks. Sorry. Sorry about that. I thought for a moment I was on screen, but sorry. It is
Have you seen or heard of the Mountain Shop tapes?
I'm sorry about that, man. I must apologize. I thought it was my show for a second.
Lincoln,
Uh,
have you heard
yes,
about
my
the
brother.
Mountain Shop tapes? Any comments on them?
Let me tell you what. I've known Mark for a number of years, long enough to know that Mark ain't gonna pull a fast one. And because I know the man, the confidence that I have in him is not the same confidence I have in the other persons who are saying it is not me. I have confidence in Mark.
Lincoln,
So
you
the
will
tape,
say
in fact, are I need not go through that. Mark don't make these mistakes.
Let me
Mark live it.
for a moment, Lincoln.
Yeah.
That let me say, and I haven't said this here, that Claudette Singh has identified a businessman, quote unquote, a businessman in Guyana, who during the course of elections wanted to kill her. She identified that individual. She called that individual's name. She knows of that individual. And that is part of, look, I will just for one quick second. Let me just pull this up. And I'm saying this, that Claudette Singh needs to come clean, that this is not being done because of any personal thing against, Claudette, is that I know that a lot of wrong things were done. And Claudette is well aware of that. Claudette say point blank why she was making the decision that she made in the final. And I know that she made it under duress. This is Claudette's voice.
You should know that I never had a promotion under them. I just went to work days.
All right, we see what's going. I saw the tape all over Facebook.
Where did they put it? They only put it to discredit me, but who knows?
Okay, there was that part of that conversation. She said she identified a businessman in Guyana who wanted at that time to kill her. She did say that. And there is evidence where she identified another individual of paying mercury for on behalf of the PPP. So Claudette cannot run away from the fact that all these things, it's her voice. Everyone knows that it is Claudette's voice.
Mark Bench up there, as I told him earlier today, he may be sitting on a minefield, a political minefield. And we will wait and see how this develops. Brothers, last weekend, or I think it was Friday, I saw the spectacle of more than 50 lawyers, some of them former judges, magistrates, taken to the road in front of Soku, protesting the treatment of the police against the young female African Guyanese lawyer. And I looked at that crowd. I looked at that, well, not crowd, I looked at the people on that demonstration line. And I was heartened to see people like Barton Scotland and K. Juman Yassin and other senior members of the bar out there standing up for justice. But what pained me is that it looks to me as if more than 90%, and I may be somewhat somewhat conservative here. It looks to me like more than 90% of the lawyers there were African Guyanese. And while I applaud the lawyers for coming onto the road, we see where Guyana is, even at that level. I leave it to you guys to comment. Lincoln Lewis first, and then Mark. Lincoln?
Let me say to you, David, as from the outset, when you started the comment about the lawyers, I knew you were coming directly to this. I have seen it. It is like playing cricket with a football. The Indian population of the legal community was somewhat not represented in that group, and it confirms my opinion that the only time you will see a large population of East Indians on the road, regardless of all the circumstances, regardless of what the circumstances are, is when it hits them directly, and more so when an issue like this that borders on rights and the rule of law and so forth, they will only come out if there was a government that was headed by an African man or woman. It confirms my opinion about it. They will come out to protest if their pockets against this government, if their pockets feel in heat. Like the rice farmers will come out and they will protest to get what they want. And after that, they go back in. But when it comes to the issue of rights and the rule of law, they prefer to sit down and they prefer to grovel under a government that that is predominantly East Indian. They prefer to do that. And there are some people who have been saying to me that the Indian community is one which says, look, we prefer to punish on our own than anybody else. We prefer to punish on our own rather than live comfortably under the leadership of another race. I'm beginning to believe these type of things. What the things that are happening today? I never thought that would have reached to this period in my lifetime where where the evidence would have been so glaring in front of me that I'm forced to accept it.
Yeah.
You
Mark,
know,
then some,
it's not only the lawyers. When you look at
yeah.
the writings and people from Quran, I'm asking myself, what's wrong with these guys?
You know,
What's wrong with them?
before, yes, thanks, Lincoln. And before I bring Mark in, for those of you in the audience who may feel the pain in our voices here on this issue, because all three of us here, we have stood up against Black-led government. We have risked our lives, our liberty, all because we come, I think, from a culture of principle. If you're wrong, you're wrong. If you're wrong, you're wrong. I vote for you. I support you. You're of my ethnic group, but you're wrong. And when you look across the aisle and you see the behavior of others, you ask yourself the question, are we being stupid? Mark Benchop. Mark Benchop.
Oh, you want me to speak?
Yes.
For a moment, I thought it was a Lincoln Lewis show. Yeah. Good points, Lincoln, but I'd like to take it to a different direction. And when I saw all those lawyers out there, some of them, for the first time I've ever seen them in a protest, all of the atrocities, all of the injustices in Guyana, I would love if all of those lawyers also join whenever there's a protest, whenever there are injustices, whether it's human extrajudicial killings, whether it's someone who is being hurt or injured by the police, some form of injustice. We need to see these lawyers out there as well. We need to see these lawyers grabbing up pro bono cases as well to represent individuals who are being wronged by the regime or some form of injustices. This is not to say that some of the lawyers don't do that, but we need to see more. I have never seen Dr. Scotland in a protest. I welcome that. But I want to see people like Dr. Scotland in more protest, not just when it happens to a lawyer. You say, how dare this happens to a lawyer? But it happens to people, it happens to ordinary people every day. And all of those lawyers have to take up a position when it happens to others as well. And not only wait till it hits their doorstep to say that they are going to hold hands in solidarity of their comrades, of their colleague, which is good. And I'm not saying that it should be condoned what happened to the lawyer. It is wrong. I spoke out about that, and we should join those lawyers, yes. But in equal measures, we have to have those lawyers join us when we're protesting. Join us for a clean list at the elections. I have seen lawyers who are of different ethnicity join the PPP in protesting as well. These lawyers who protested the other day in front of Soku's building should not be afraid to join us when we are talking about injustices, to join us and take up cases of pro bono nature and these things. They should do that. They should do that often. And when they do that, there's a high possibility that Guyana will once again be a better place under a different regime. They must not be afraid to speak out. Of course, we looked at the ethnicity makeup and so forth. Yeah, but I'm looking at the bigger picture. I want to see these lawyers. I want to see Dr. Scotland on another protest line, protesting against injustices. I want to see them do that as well. And then I'll be happy. And then I'll be comfortable that, yes, all is not wrong.
And Lincoln Lewis here, bringing it on tonight. I'm under strict time constraints. So I can't go over my time because I will get in trouble with Brother Sherrod Duncan, who has opened his platform to me. So, brothers, we've got to go. It's that time. Tomorrow night, I'm having young Elson Lowe on to look at the issue of 48% of Guyanese living on $1,100 or less. That's Guyanese dollars. Young Elson Lowe, Economist tonight. Thank you very much, Brother Lincoln.
David, is Gone We Gone already?
Yes, we gone. Time is up. And
all right, I'll be on at 8 o'clock New York time. 8 o'clock New York time.
New York time, 8 o'clock. Yes, you all turn back your clock there. The state that I work in is the only sensible state that don't turn back.
David, remind Mark this is not your platform. He's the only thing right.
I am
not for inviting me. Mark, when are you going to invite me? When are you going to invite me, Mark?
And please,
you guys are free to come on my show anytime. Anytime. You guys are free.
One of my daughters has graced my program here tonight. And she's saying, looking forward to tomorrow. I don't know if it's my show or tomorrow. She's looking forward to the midterm elections. But she says she's looking forward
to the midterm elections she's talking about. It couldn't be your show, or she's probably looking forward to Straight Up tomorrow. Those Sarabo, not your show. Don't be full of yourself.
My children don't join my show. It's only the politician one does join sometimes. They don't join. So when I see one of them, I just beam. Anyhow, thanks, Zoe. Hope you vote.
I got you. And you have every right to do so, but she's talking about my show.
And for those of you Guyanese, go out and vote tomorrow if you haven't voted yet. It's a crucial election. Looking forward to tomorrow's elections result and Politics 101 with Elson Lowe. In a land of plenty, people are living below 1,100 Guyanese dollars. Why? Why? The young economists will tell us tomorrow. Good night. Bye-bye. See you all tomorrow. And those of you who have continued to help us, thank you so much. And I have to bring you back quick. You have to fix your technical thing.
All right. Thanks.